Welcome, readers, to another episode of the Bougie Book Pod, our last in a little while. I'm Tara.
And I'm Kira.
And today we are going over The Fury by Alex Michaelides.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, I think I did that right. I'm going to hold up Kira's version of the book because I ordered mine. It is. I ordered mine on Thrift Books.
Oh.
And I have this thing that when I order things online, I don't always double check what I'm ordering.
Yeah.
And so I didn't click paperback. Apparently I clicked hardcover. Big mistake. And when I ordered it, I didn't even read that it said that it was missing the jacket. So I just had like this plain blue hardcover, and I was so disappointed.
Yeah, I do really like it's very appealing.
That's the reason I wanted the book, because it has the evil eye. You can't see, but I'm wearing the evil eye on 2 rings. I'm obsessed with the evil eye.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a Greek thing, but it's also an Italian thing. They call it Maliocco. And anyway, I saw that and I was like, oh, I want that book. And I ordered the wrong version of it. But I do this all the time. I do this. I do H-E-B grocery pickup, and I always end up getting like the mini version of things.
Of what you want, yeah.
I don't know why. You think I'd learn to read descriptions a little bit better, but here we are. So, The Fury is a twisty psychological thriller set on a remote Greek island where a glamorous getaway turns deadly. It's told by Elliot, a wannabe playwright with a flair for drama and a habit of bending the truth. There's murder, obsession, and a narrator you absolutely cannot trust. If you love stories where nothing is what it seems and the storyteller might be the real villain, this one is for you.
So right off the bat, we're not going to dive into his other novels until like maybe the end, look at those ratings, because he's obviously known for his debut. So we'll get to that. But let's focus on this.
Interesting, because this is my first Alex Michaelides book. And based on what you were telling me earlier, I'm glad this is my first, because now I feel like it can only go up from here.
That's how I'm glad for you.
Yeah.
Because I did it in the order that the 3 were published.
They came out.
Yeah, so it's a bummer. Anyway, we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
So anyway, I don't know about you, but one thing that did intrigue me, other than the cover of this, is the summary itself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love a good, we're on an island, we're somewhere remote, we're in Greece for the tragedy, but a lot of the story does take place in London.
Yeah. Which
I was still fine with.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure people who read it that are from London are like, okay, move on, get us to the island. So the interesting thing with this is you have a slew of characters that I feel like you don't get to know anyone super well. You don't even really get to know our narrator super well.
No, everything is very superficial, as if you were watching a movie.
Yes. So breakdown of the characters. You have Elliot, like we said, he's our narrator, which is super interesting because it is told in the second person point of view.
Yes, he's talking to you think.
Yes, which is not my favorite, but it's okay.
I enjoyed it because, so I started off enjoying his character as the narrator because the way he writes is so British.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like his style, his voice, the words that he chooses, it's very British. It's very like, matter of fact, like, okay, let's move on from this. And it just kind of made me laugh a little bit because Americans are not that serious or proper, And so like even in tight situations, he found a way to put just like a little bit of like sarcastic, witty, dry humor in it. And I enjoyed that. I love reading books by British authors. I love British dialogue.
Yeah, the author he was born and raised in Cyprus, but then he went, looks like, to the UK for a bit and Los Angeles for a bit. So he's kind of got a combo.
Yeah, it just felt very British, and I love that.
So you've got Elliot, our narrator, and he is not like he's got an interesting backstory. You don't know a whole lot about him. He lives with a woman who is famous at one point that kind of takes him under her wing. They have a very strange relationship. I never really wanted to pinpoint or understand.
Yeah, she was much older than him. I think she was a famous writer.
He makes it sound like she uses him. Mm-hmm. It was kind of weird. And then Elliot is friends with Lana.
Yeah.
We'll say Lana, who is our famous, glamorous actress, but she's no longer working. She's worth a ton of money. She originally comes from the U.S., is living in London now with her second husband, who is younger than her, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Which is Jason. And then you've got Leo, who is Lana's teenage son. I'm thinking he's like 17
he was
or
like
18.
17. I think he's 17, 18, about to go off to college.
He's somewhere in university. And her only son.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's from the first marriage to her first husband was a writer?
I think so. Writer, director.
Something like that.
Behind the scenes movie person.
Yes. And then we have Kate, who is Lana's friend. She also works in she's more plays and musicals. Mm-hmm. I was getting that vibe. Yeah. Theater. And like Kate knows Elliot. They're all like intertwined in the acting world.
Yeah, they're like a close little knit of friends or acquaintances.
Yes.
I feel like Elliot and Lana, they're close friends. Kate is more of an acquaintance of Elliot because of her friendship with Lana.
Yes.
But you don't get the sense that everybody in that circle likes Elliot except for Lana.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have some other characters, and I can't remember. Agatha.
Oh, yeah.
Or Agatha. I say Agatha. But she's like Lana's assistant. Like, assistant is such a not a great word because this woman does everything for her. She like runs her whole life and almost feels like a mom kind of character. So there's her. You get the sense that she doesn't like Elliot. And then there's Nico. He runs so Lana has
a groundskeeper.
Yeah, Lana has this property in Greece and he runs that. And I think there might be somebody else. I can't remember, but you get the sense that everybody kind of tolerates Elliot because he's her best friend.
Yeah. So they are in London. We get a lot of the story from London, but then they also have, in her first marriage, her husband bought this island, small island in Greece for them. And so that's where like Nico takes care of the island, things like that. And they decide, let's take a trip. It's a holiday weekend, is it not?
Easter weekend, I think.
Easter weekend, maybe. And they all are going to take this trip to the island. Things are going to be great. And obviously things are not.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing also with this is I'm not a theater person. And I say that in a non-mean way, but I'm not going out of my way to watch a play or go to a musical. And so the fact that the focus on the theater and the way Elliot talks and like that, all the different terms in Act 1, Act 2, I was just kind of like, okay. But I feel like if you like theater, it was interesting.
I loved it.
The way it was, separated.
Yeah, I loved that because it almost made me feel like I have a behind the scenes look into how the sauce is made or something like that. I really liked it being broken down into the Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. And it makes sense once you get to the end because it's all kind of brought together why he put it that way. But they are a group of people who are from the theater. So that's how Lana started, even though she got into movies. And then her son wants to be an actor. Kate is a big actress. The original husband, he was into that. And then Elliot's sugar mama, she was very much in that scene around those types of people. He was trying to be a playwright. So he's just like, his whole world is illusion, really, like creating drama. And so I liked that. So that was fun for me. But yeah, I could see that if you're like not in that world, you're reading a book, you don't want to see that. I feel like maybe that should have been in the little summary on the back to get people to realize.
Like, either give me this in order with just chapters or like now, then. Like, I don't need this act.
Yeah. So in the beginning, it opens with Lana is like, she's on the streets of London and it's rainy and you're kind of hearing about how she's just tired of that weather. And then she just gets the idea like, we've got to go to the island. And then it switches to Kate's point of view, not her point of view, but like we're learning about Kate and she's struggling to really get into her character. And she seems quite miserable on this new play that she's working on, which is another Greek drama, of course. And so she's like, yeah, let's go on this trip. And so Elliot, in the beginning, I was kind of struggling as how did he get into this circle? Because one, it seems like no one likes him. But two, he doesn't have any success behind him that matches what these other people.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like they say to like surround yourself by people who like you want to be like, and I feel like that's what he's doing, but I sometimes wonder like what are they getting from him?
Yes, I was surprised, especially by Lana. Like, is it just a companion at this point because she's retired?
I think you get the sense that Lana is almost a little naive to people around her, or she also, I think, has naively accepted that everybody wants something from her, so she just kind of picks and chooses the easiest people to be around. And maybe because he doesn't have much, she feels like she has more of the power in that relationship, so that feels safe to her. But you, as you read, you can figure out that he is in love with her, like obsessively in love with her, and is playing the long game of hoping, you know, one day my shot will come, even though she's been married twice. So we're on this island.
And the interesting thing is, right off the bat, there's no doubt that like someone's murdered. They make it very clear. There's tragedy is struck while they're on the island. Someone is murdered, and it's the whole like now we backtrack this story.
Yeah, how did it begin?
How did this begin? And like I did appreciate that. I was like, okay, let's just get it out there because I, you know, you pick up books and you're like, obviously something bad's gonna happen. I just picked this up in the mystery thriller. Like, let's just say it. So I did like that, and I think it kind of went along with the theater vibe. So I will appreciate that part of it, like setting the scene like that and then backtracking.
And it was kind of fun, in my opinion, the way he did the second person. So he's talking to you and he was saying like, you know, you're a very quiet listener. And of course, because we cannot talk back to him. But he was setting it up like, imagine like we're in a bar and I'm going to buy you a drink and I'm going to tell you this story. And then he was also like, okay, I realize that I'm leaving out things about myself. So you might be wondering, where do I fit in? And it almost feels like a conversation, even though you have no part in this conversation. So I liked that. I liked the second person. But I also like that he was honest in, I haven't really told you everything about myself. You can't trust me completely. Also, he brings up things about the theater, like, of course you can't trust this, and of course you can't trust that. So what are we looking for? And so you start to feel like, okay, what pieces of the puzzle has he put out there for me that I'm trying to figure out? And I found that to be fun.
So right off the bat, we have, okay, the plot is set in motion. They're going to go to this island for this long weekend, it sounds like. We know there's a murder. And I think even right from the bat, you're told who is killed.
I think so.
Which is Lana.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay. So then you're automatically starting to think of like, you're getting suspicious of everyone. Everyone. Because Elliot, being our narrator and a little unreliable, he paints the picture that all these people have something possibly against her.
Yeah.
You know, Kate struggling with her role, all these things. Lana's husband, who seems like he doesn't have a lot going for him financially.
Yes.
One of those situations where he relies on her a bit more. He kind of seems like Elliot paints him as not really around, just not like, hey honey, how was your day?
Yeah, like immediately
do you want a cup of tea?
Immediately when you get there, he's like, I don't know why you brought all these people. I don't even know why we're here. I need to get work done. And he's just grumpy.
Yes. Which, once again, is painted by Elliot. So you're kind of like,
yeah, can you trust that?
Yeah. And then he also paints this, and at least I got this vibe, he paints the son as such a mama's boy.
Yes.
Like,
in almost
umbilical cord still attached, like so crazy.
Yes. Yeah, like in a debilitating way. Yeah, I got that feeling too.
Okay, good. I was like,
and then he mentioned something about the son wanting to be an actor, but she's against it. And so now you have like, even though he's almost like Bates Motel type attached to his mother, he's angry that she's not supporting. So now you're wondering, okay, is that a thing? And then at one point in the story, they talk about how Jason, the husband, has all these guns for hunting, and Leo, the son, is a vegetarian and he's against him hunting, so he hides the guns. And so now you're thinking, okay, well, now Leo knows where the guns, but Jason doesn't know where the guns are. Are guns going to be involved in this murder? And you know, you've got all these things going. And then he even talks about the housekeeper. I don't even know what to call her because it seems like so little of a title name, but Agatha, that she's upset about certain things. And then Nico, the groundskeeper, he's in love with Lana, but he's also like he paints him like this almost, what kind of figure would you say? He's kind of like lurking in the background.
Yes. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just the groundskeepers I've seen. Like, it's very typical.
Yes,
like, they know everything. They are everywhere.
They're like shadows.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're always there. That's what you get from him.
So it's like everybody on this island feels like they could absolutely have been the one to murder her.
And the interesting thing is also, I didn't touch on with Kate, is she is just like doing drugs. Drinking heavily. She's all like, she gets all almost like, why is the attention always on Lana?
Yeah.
She has like a couple outbursts where it's like, are we done talking about that? Can we talk about me? Like, it's just, you're getting this weird jealousy vibe from her.
Yeah.
She seems like she's going to spiral like real fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes you wonder, why is Lana such good friends with the person like that who clearly has an issue with her? Then again, this is being told from Elliot's point of view. So how much of that can you trust? Was she really acting that way? Or was he painting her that way? Because then he does like some backtracks when he talks about his life with this woman, the writer. I think her name was Barbara. I can't remember. But so initially you get the sense that she was using him and treating him pretty nasty, but he dealt with it because she was bankrolling everything. But then sometimes you get the feeling that there was like a nefarious thing behind it on his part, or that there was some sort of agreement and then he made it seem like poor me. So yeah, this whole time you're really not sure, can you trust this dude and his story?
And he comes clean eventually, like he had a bad childhood. You know, you get the vibe that he's been on his own. He didn't have a lot of money. He had to work really hard. So I feel like that was also, I was like, okay, you're definitely waiting for this lady to die. Like, you're just being kind of like a companion to her.
I wish I had brought my book, because I had earmarked one of the pages where he talks about like trauma and your childhood. It was, I wish I had brought my book.
He does reference his therapy sessions a
bit. And some of it like really kind of hit me in the gut, of like certain things that like you still carry with you from your childhood.
He was like talking about like the little Elliot inside of him.
Yes, like some of it made me a little, no, I didn't cry, but it got me a little weepy-eyed just thinking about like, if you were to like think about yourself as a child, like what would you say to them? Like, you're their protector now and things like that. And so I think he manipulated me in that way, because he's saying these like therapy talk things and it's making me go, oh, this poor guy, you know, he's dealing with a lot. And at one point he does mention that he had to like reinvent himself. So now I'm starting to wonder if Elliot was even his real name.
Probably not.
Because this barber woman says that like you have to create a new persona. And he's like, and then in comes Elliot, whatever his last name was. And so then I was like, oh, maybe that's not even his real name.
It was like Elliot Chase. Like, it was a very just generic
name. But so he's talking about trauma, and you could tell that there's just things that he never got over. Like, he was bullied really bad, and then it made me think about me when I was bullied really bad. And I was just like, wow, the things that you carry and that you cannot let go, and how it like shapes. But I just feel like it carried him into this way of like, he wants everybody to get their comeuppance in some sort of way. Like, he is so obsessed with making it, not even like making it with his own work, but making it by having someone who is the top love him. That's really all he wants, is he wants to be loved so hard by the most incredible person.
He seems like he's fine being part of a famous person's very tight-knit circle.
Yeah, that's all he aspires to, because for him that's like a validation of, I'm worthy.
Yes.
And that's what this guy wants. And so there's a lot of like mind stuff going on here, as well as like trying to figure out what's going on.
So naturally we're on the island, and of course there's a storm coming in. Of course, because like, why wouldn't there be?
Yeah, and
there has to be a storm when we're on
the fury is the wind.
Yes.
And so there's all like, so kind of not supernatural, but there are some supernatural elements of like superstitions around the wind and the things that happen on this island.
So of course they're on the island. They're like, we're still gonna go to dinner. They hop on the boat. They go to dinner. The storm comes in, and of course that's when it's, Kate's drunk and high. Jason, I don't really even know where he is at this point. Everyone just kind of, it's like chaos, and then all of a sudden it's gunshot.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Leo is the first on the scene.
Yeah, he finds his mom and he's like wailing and screaming and crying and covered in blood. And then Elliot's the next one on the scene. And then so one by one everybody gets to the scene, and it's kind of like, we're the only ones here on the island. Who did it?
Yes.
And Jason has it in his mind. Somebody else came here,
and
we need to go find them.
So he decides they're going to go search the island, and I'm picturing pitch black, bad weather.
Yeah.
And Elliot goes with him, I think, just in a we're the men type of fashion. Yeah. Nico does too, or no?
I don't remember. I know Leo, at this point, he's angry and saying, like, you don't care that my mom is dead. And he's like, well, we're trying to find out who did it. But then he wants to find his gun. And Leo's like, I hid the guns. But then they go to where he hid the guns, and the guns are not there. And so, yeah. And
Kate's just out of her mind.
Yeah, Kate's a mess. Agatha, she is distraught beyond all belief. And Elliot is the only one who seems kind of cool.
And I can't remember, I'm going to get this wrong, but I feel confident. When they find Lana, she is wearing Kate's
scarf.
Yeah, she's shawl thing.
And that's a big point, because at the dinner, Kate was wearing the scarf and Lana was trying to diffuse the tension and just saying, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful on you. And Kate was like, it's just like this cheap thing where it's not fashionable like you. And yeah, it was just a really tense dinner. And then everybody's angry at everybody, and then she's dead.
And so the interesting thing is, it's like, we go back to London. Yeah. We go back to London and we start to get the backstory.
Yes, and we're with Agatha.
Yes.
And she is picking up Lana's dry cleaning. And she gets to cut the line because it's for Lana. And the dry cleaner guy is like, oh, I found this earring in Mr. Jason's pocket. Just want to let you know in case it looks like it's an expensive earring, whatever. And Agatha she's immediately feeling like, oh, that doesn't seem right. I don't think that's, she would know Lana's jewelry. I don't think that's Lana's. Maybe I shouldn't say anything, So she goes home, and Lana could tell that she's like, what's wrong? What's the matter? And she tells her, I found this earring. And Lana kind of plays it off like, oh, just give it to me.
Yeah.
No big deal. But immediately Lana's like, whose earring is this? And I don't remember if she connected it or she was suspicious and wanted to talk to Kate about it, because Kate is her best friend.
I think she goes to see Kate at the theater and sees the other one.
The other earring just sitting
on her, like,
yeah.
I'm not a theater person. Whatever you call your vanity when your room or whatever. I thought she saw the other one.
She does. I just can't remember if she was already thinking that it was Kate's, or she was like, I just need to talk to my friend about this and tell me if, I think it was that. I think she's like, I just need to talk to my friend, and she's going to tell me if I'm being crazy, if I need to let this go. But then when she gets into her dressing room and she sees,
that's what it's called.
She sees the earring, she's immediately like, oh. Yeah. And when Kate comes in, she's like, you know what? I realized I just got to go. Yeah. And she's all upset. And so now as the reader, you're like, oh, well, now it makes sense why Kate has been like uptight, why Jason is so angry. There's definitely something going on between the two of them.
And then in her despair, she reaches out to Elliot, because apparently Lana has two friends.
Yeah.
Which is also strange.
It is, but then when you think about it, the people who are at the top in terms of publicity, it probably is like that. Because how many people can you really trust? I think about this all the time.
Less than two, apparently.
Right? I think about this all the time because I love Taylor Swift, and I think about, like, who are her real, true friends? Yeah. You think about the things that happen in the media, and like some of those friendships fall apart. It's just like, who the heck could you trust? That's why I always felt like if Britney Spears was just friends with me, I think she would be a totally healthy person.
R.I.P. Not literally, but yikes.
Don't say that.
I feel really bad for her. Anyway, so
yes. So she goes to
Elliot. They go to Elliot's apartment. They're drinking. She tells Elliot what happened. They're pretty drunk at this point.
And I think what's really sad is that in this moment, Elliot is like, yes.
Oh, yeah.
He's so happy because now it's like, oh, I can prove to her that I'm the one that she should be with, instead of being like a sympathetic friend.
He's like, this is a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he goes, you know what you need to do is you need to teach him a lesson and set him up.
So they like jokingly concoct this like set up Jason plan, whatever. Elliot passes out, but he has in his weird little notebook that he keeps as a writer, he has written out their plans as if it was a play.
Yeah.
And he convinces Lana, correct me if I'm wrong, to invite them all to the island to have this grand play. Like, here are the roles. We're going to do this, and it's going to make Jason look like an ass.
But he also framed it in a way of like, this is a way of testing his love.
Yes.
Because if we do this and we make it look like Kate did it, he will have to choose. First of all, you get to see how he reacts when you die, and you can tell if he really loves you. And then 2, is he going to turn on Kate? And I bet you he will, and that's going to show you that he really, truly loves you. So if you want to move forward with Jason, after this you can, and then we get rid of Kate. That's the way Elliot is selling it.
And Lana's like, yeah, whatever, when she's drunk. But then she goes to leave in the morning and she sees his book and that he's written this out. And I think she's just like, WTF, I was kidding.
Yeah.
And I was drunk.
Yeah, I was upset.
You're crazy.
Yeah.
But then she goes back and she sees other things in his book and she's like, goodbye. Because, correct me if I'm wrong again, I read this in April. I'm acting like I read this so long ago. Elliot was suspicious of Kate and Jason and had been doing his own stalking of their affair.
Yeah. He noticed something a little early on.
And he was taking, of course, notes.
Yeah, like I think he was out and about and he saw them together.
Like at a bar,
and I think he saw them kiss or whatever. And he was like, so instead of just telling Lana, his best friend,
been tracking it.
He tracks them and he's like, she's got to find out on her own. And so he keeps trying to set things up in a way that like she would stumble upon it, and none of it works until he's like, he just tries. He puts the earring in there.
Yeah.
And, he took Kate's earring
and planted
it.
So of course Lana, like, I would be suspicious too.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
But then she decides to go through with like, nope, let's go to the island. And they go to the island. And Lana is shot and killed. They go through this whole, let's find her. And then things get not messy, but like, I don't even know if I could tell it in the right order. I could tell you exactly what happens, but I don't even know if I could tell in the right order because so much happens.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of back and forth where you're learning things, and then you go back to the night, and so everybody disperses, but then Lana gets up and she's like, okay, this is the phase 1 of the plan, whatever. But then Agatha comes and sees that Lana is not dead, and Agatha is pissed.
And Leo's in on it.
Yes.
They got Leo in on it because he wants to be an actor. And she's like,
so sick.
She's like in her bedroom, and Agatha or whatever is like so mad at her.
Yeah.
All this stuff. I'm pretty sure Elliot and them are still out looking
for her killer.
And I don't even know where Kate is, like passed out somewhere maybe. I don't remember.
and Agatha is just like, you let me believe that you were killed. Like, it's just a cruel thing to do. And then I think Lana tells her, well, this was Elliot's idea. And she's like, Elliot is the devil. Yes. And, all these things. And Elliot's like, you've got to convince her to go with the plan. And like, this is what we're going to have her do and say. And you could just tell that Agatha is just like, I'm not going to do this. But Elliot is still like, no, we've got this plan. We've got this plan. And then, I don't know if it's easy to tell it in the right order, but then he goes to Kate. And so his plan is to get the two of them thinking it was each other.
Yes.
But then he takes a turn that Lana doesn't know about. Well, I think she does. Where he takes one of the guns, and it's loaded, and he brings it to Kate, and he's basically like, Nico is dead. Jason killed him. He pushed him off the cliff. He thinks that you did it, and I think he's coming after you.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a gun, protect yourself.
Yeah.
And she's just like, you are insane. He's like, I'm just telling you what happened, what I heard.
He's trying to get everyone against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that is playing well for him is Jason did not react well.
Yeah.
For someone whose wife died.
Yeah. And Lana is upset about that. She's like,
yes.
he does not care that I'm dead.
Oh, no. And like, yeah, he goes out to look for the killer, but he's like, they find the body and he's like, well, they've got to be on the island. Like, just nothing.
Yeah.
Straight to business.
Yeah.
And I don't even think it's because of his wife being dead. I think it's like, well, we're going to get picked off if we don't find him.
Yeah. Or he's probably even thinking, like, I'm even not sure if I'm in her will. He's just, I don't know what his concern is, but it really isn't that he doesn't have Lana anymore.
So everything escalates, and Elliot convinces, how do they get to the beach? How do they get to the dock or whatever?
He tells Kate that that's where Jason is. And she's like, I just have to talk to him. I don't believe any of this. Da, da, da. And so she gets there, and I don't remember exactly what Jason says, but he says something that makes her kind of go, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I don't know him the way I think I know him. And he says to her that, like, I love you.
Yeah.
And she's thinking, no, he doesn't. Like, why would he say this now? And Elliot's in the wings, kind of like off stage, you know, and like, yes, my plan is working. She's going to shoot him. And you're thinking, oh, this is going to be a real murder now. And so Lana's was fake, but this is going to be real. And suddenly Kate turns around and she doesn't shoot Elliot, and then everything is turned. I mean, she doesn't shoot Jason, and everything is turned on Elliot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, like,
and then Lana appears.
Yes. And Jason is freaked out.
Yes. Lana appears. You've got, and I picture them all in a line for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, you've got Jason here, Kate here, Elliot here, and like Lana farthest on land and safe. Like space. Elliot, he's like in the sand in my head.
Yeah.
And then like Kate and Jason are like on a dock.
Honestly, I could picture this as a play.
Yeah.
The way it's written, they could adapt this into a play, and it would be really fun to see, I think. Yeah. And then they were all just like entering stage left or whatever. And suddenly Elliot's like, whoa,
this is not the plan.
This is not how I wrote it. My characters are getting away from me. That's what he was like. My characters have gotten away from me. This was not in the script. And, you know, I don't want to say poor Jason because I don't like him, but he has no idea what's going on. He is so left out of everything. And Elliot takes us back into things that, like, he couldn't have known, but he finds out later on. And basically, if we go back to that day that Lana found the notebook, she agreed to do this, not because, well, let's try it, but because she immediately went to Kate, confronted her, you're sleeping with my husband. And Kate's like, oh my God. Yeah, but I ended it. I'm so sorry. Yeah. And Lana tells her about this thing with Elliot and what the plan was going to be. And Kate is just like, what kind of people are you hanging around with? Like, I know I'm bad, but like, he's trying to set up so that Jason is murdered. And Kate convinces Lana, let's do it. Let's do it and turn it around on him. And so, as in every story, you get to a point where you're like, if this character would just do this, problem solved. But then, of course, there's no story, right? And so Lana goes through all of this really with the end game of setting up Elliot.
But it's to expose Elliot.
It's to expose him, not to kill him.
Elliot's the only one that wants someone dead.
Yes. So Kate has a gun that Elliot doesn't realize has blanks in it, theater blanks. And so in that scene, when things get turned on him, Nico shows up. And Kate's like, Elliot told me you killed him. And Jason's like, no, why are you listening to this guy? And then Elliot's like, oh, no. And then Agatha shows up. And then she's like, Miss Lana is alive. And then Lana shows up. And then Elliot's like, okay, jig is up. It was all game. Da, da, da. And Agatha is like, no, it wasn't. You set this up, you know, and like things are getting turned on him. And Jason beats him up. And then Kate goes to shoot him and he's thinking, this is it, this is the end. And then like the gun goes off, but it's a blank. And so it really was just all to like expose him as being like, you've come into our lives to just blow everything up and you need to get out. And instead of just like tucking his tail between his legs and getting out of there, he's reverting back to little Elliot, I guess, and he's getting angry and he's mad. And the worst part, and I think this is what set him over the edge, because then Leo comes out too. And I guess before Elliot was shot and he's thinking he's going to die, he pees himself. And Leo makes this comment of like, look, he wet himself. What a loser, or something like that. And it sounds very elementary, you know?
And it like snaps him
back into that little boy who was abused, and really like, you know, you feel bad for the little Elliot. And I think that's when he just snaps of like, oh, I've got to take back this power. And things get a little crazier from there. So you want to take it from there? Do you remember what happens?
God bless. I don't.
So they're saying that there's going to be a boat coming in the morning and that Elliot better be on it, get off this island, get out of our lives for good. And Elliot is just kind of like walking the beach for a while, goes back to the house through the kitchen. Agatha is there. Lana is there. And Agatha sees him. She's like, get your thing. Yeah, get your things from your room. I just
found it.
Oh, perfect. Go for it.
Well, okay, so what happens is, they're all telling him that they have to, like, they go back to the house, all this stuff, and he's staring at Lana at the house, and it says the sun outside made the window go behind her, so I guess we have made it to the next morning?
Yeah.
Okay. And then he talks about, like, all of a sudden he is in his mind, and he describes it like, I sounded calm, I looked calm on the surface, but in the padlocked cell in my mind where I kept him prisoner, like little Elliot, I could hear the kid rising up, once again abused, once again humiliated, and worst of all, his darkest fears, all the terrible things I promised him weren't true, they've just been confirmed by the only person he ever loved. Lana had exposed the kid finally for what he was, unloved, a fraud, a freak. So he is like deep into like,
he's been broken.
Yes. And then he says, I could hear him breaking free, bursting out of his cell. I wish he would stop screaming. Then I realized it wasn't the kid screaming, it was me. Lana had turned around and was staring at me alarmed. Her eyes widened as I took the shotgun out from behind my back. I aimed it at her, and before anyone could stop me, I pulled the trigger. I fired 3 times. And that, my friend, concludes the sad story of how I came to murder Lana.
Yeah.
And then the epilogue is his therapist visiting him.
Yes. And then what you learn in the epilogue, which I think is another little bit of a twist, is that this second person isn't you, the reader. It's him. And so his therapist is saying, like, you've got to get this out of you, because he's still like all broken up, right? And she's saying, like, if you could write it down. He's like, I don't want to write it down. She's like, but like, tell little Elliot. And so he's writing is to himself. Like, this is what you become. This is what happens to you. And it's not a confession. It's like this psychological trick to help him feel better or to accept what he's done. I thought it was kind of crazy. And then he says something along the lines of like, this won't see the light of day until he's dead. And so if you're reading it, I've passed.
Yeah.
And like in the hopes of it becoming something, like he's written something that people will want to read, but he doesn't want it to happen until he's gone. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, and then he does admit. Does he not admit that he killed Barbara? Right in the epilogue, or he says that like
it's like open.
It's open to interpretation, because it says after she fell down the stairs, I hurried after her once I had made sure she was dead.
Yeah.
So you're like, what?
Yeah.
And then he finds a play that she had written about him, painting him as like a psycho.
Yeah. But then he changed the name.
Yep.
And then that's how he gets a little bit of fame after she's dead. Like, this is the only play that he's written.
Yeah.
And it turns out it was Barbara's play. But so, it leaves it kind of open at the end. You're like, did he push her down the stairs? Nobody knows, because there is a point in the book where that woman Barbara went to Lana and is like, this is what you need to know about him. He's this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
And Lana actually doesn't believe him.
Yeah.
She just thinks she's this crazy, mean old lady who's taking advantage of a young man, which it doesn't look good, right?
No, it doesn't.
But yeah, so there's a lot of things that like are left a little bit open, and I like that. I like when books kind of keep you thinking. Because sometimes, like the last book we read, the tidy endings don't always work. So I enjoyed that.
It is not a bad book by any means.
I didn't think so. I'm saying this as this is my first time reading one of his books.
Yes.
So for me, I enjoyed it. I didn't have any expectations going in, though.
And that's the thing. I'm afraid, as if it keeps him up at night. I worry that everyone on Goodreads, from what I've seen review-wise, is they all have read his debut. So the rating isn't, and we do it all the time with authors that you really like, I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like his ratings on Goodreads aren't based off of this book, but like, we've read this is our standard.
Gotcha.
That's how I feel, because this book has a 3.36, I looked this morning, rating on Goodreads.
And his others much higher?
His first book was over 4.
Oh.
I think it was like 4.17. He has 3 books out, and it is first book highest rating, second book middle rating, third book lowest. They go in order.
Dang. And we were talking about this earlier before we started recording. I always wanted to be a writer growing up, but I have absolutely let fear keep me from even attempting to be creative because of things like that. Because I just imagine, and maybe that's why I'm always rating 4 or 5 stars. Occasionally I'll give something 3 stars. But it's just imagining putting so much work into something like this, and like, it's your baby, it's something you created, and then to have people trash it. Yeah. Ooh, I couldn't handle that.
So the Silent Patient, if you haven't read it, is what we're referring to as the first book, was published in 2019. 4.17, which for a mystery thriller, if you're over 4 point whatever star wise, I feel like that's really high. His second book was The Maidens, which came out 2 years after his first book, 3.62. And then 3 years later, because this was published in 2024, we get The Fury, which is 3.36.
Dang.
So yeah, well, it has gone down.
Mr. Michaelides, I enjoyed it. I'm just going to get straight to my Goodreads rating. I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed our crazy Elliot's voice. I could picture his accent or hear his accent in my head. Maybe I'm just obsessed with British narrators. I don't know. But I enjoyed his like cheeky telling of the story, even though I knew what he was telling me was complete BS. I enjoyed the way he was trying to shovel that BS down my throat. Because yeah, I don't know. It was just, there was like a snarky, I don't know. I loved it. And then I liked the twist that Lana was trying to turn it all around him and that he had no idea what was coming for him. I liked that. I liked all the twists. It didn't like rock my world 5. Yeah. But I would recommend this to other people.
Yeah. And I think that's why I gave it a 4 as well. I'm not, like I said, not a theater person. So like, I didn't connect so much with that. Elliot, I did, like, he's an unreliable narrator in a good way, but I still just, sometimes the way he was talking, I was not like his accent, but just like, there was just a little bit of fluff in there that I wish I could have.
Yeah,
like, there were definitely moments where I was scanning, like, because he would take a whole page to be like, I walk down the street. And I was like, okay, I get it. You're a theater guy and you're a writer, but like, I need it here.
Yeah.
So I did really, I liked it. Like I said, it is not The Silent Patient, but you've got to understand that like, they're not connected in any way. So it's like, it's a good book. It's a good book.
Yeah, I think so. And like I said, I would recommend it to somebody who likes these types of twisty mysteries and murders.
Yeah. But if you haven't read The Silent Patient, you definitely should.
I'm going to this summer. It's on my list.
Because
we'll see if I get there.
it is really good. But yeah, I don't know. It's and I know a lot of times I try to find a funny review on Goodreads for us to read, and there weren't any.
No.
Because it was either like I loved it or people trashed it, and I think it was because they were basing it off of his first novel.
That's so unfair.
Yeah.
And you see this a lot with all types of artists, musicians, actors, writers. It's like if they have something that really blows up or people really love, everybody expects to get that kind of fire again. And I cannot imagine the pressure to deliver again something that explosive. I mean,
and some authors do it, but
yeah, that's true. But then I think sometimes some authors get lucky where they just get these types of fans who will love it no matter what.
Yeah.
Because it feeds some sort of trope or some sort of stereotype of, maybe not stereotype, but it feeds some sort of theme that they like to read or pattern that they like.
It makes me think of Gillian Flynn and how she has 3 books. I don't know, maybe I need to dive into some research where she is, what she's doing, but all 3 were like top tier.
Yeah.
In my eyes, at least.
Yeah.
So I'm like, is this like I'm at the top? I'm good?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe. Because where do you go from there? I mean, think about like J.K. Rowling. We're not gonna talk about her as a person, but like after Harry Potter wrapped, she started writing under another name, just for like just a chance to try something different without being broken apart by it. But the thing is, everybody knew it was her still, so there was that expectation that it was going to be magical or it was going to be this, and it's like you kind of paint yourself into a little bit of a hole. I don't know. It's hard being a creative person.
Yeah, but I mean, I would recommend all 3 of his books.
Yeah.
The Maidens was a little different.
Okay.
But it was good. Well, I think I mean, I may have rated it 4 or 5 stars. Who knows? In the moment, I throw out stars like they're candy.
No, you get a star. You get a star.
And then I think about it later, and I'm like, what?
What was I doing?
Silent Patient, easy 5 stars.
Yeah. Well, what did you guys think? Did you read The Fury? I hope you did. I don't know why you would be listening to this episode, unless you just enjoy listening to people spoil books for you. I don't know. But tell us your thoughts. Did you read his other books? I didn't. So I was not looking for anything specific, expecting anything.
And it's so loaded because
author
of the Silent Patient. And I know when people have success, they like to say like, "Hey, this is them." Like, if you liked their book, you'll like this. But man, it's right there. Yeah. Anywho, it's a beautiful book.
Yeah, I'm really sad that I didn't get this copy. I'm not gonna lie. I was even like, I'm just gonna send this copy to my mom. Isn't that mean that I'm sending my mom a like ugly copy? But she doesn't care what they look like. But I think I still want this copy.
It's nice.
So pretty. Oh, covers really work. We judge books by their cover, unfortunately.
Yep. Who knows where we'll go from here? So
yes,
probably dive into some fantasy stuff. Who knows?
Yeah. When we come back, and we don't know when that will be.
And who knows? You could be listening to this like a month from when we actually recorded it.
I know. And then you're like, "What are you talking about? Your next episode's already out."
Yeah. So.
I think maybe I'm in book 3 now of Throne of Glass. I'm like halfway through. Maybe we'll be able to start diving into the Throne of Glass world when we come back. I'm ready to talk about
Selena.
Is that how we say it?
That's how I say it. I don't listen to audiobooks, so. And I like refuse to watch videos about fantasy books until I've read them. So I like went through the series and then saw videos of people saying it. So
yeah, I've got things. I'm already like questioning things, and I'm reading it all on my iPad because with these I like to highlight a bunch of stuff. So there's like I'm in the novella of the Assassin's Blade, and there's certain characters that I've come across, and I'm like, God, I hope this girl comes back. I hope we learn about this person again, and I'll be so upset if she doesn't come back.
Who?
I can't pronounce her name, but she's like a barmaid, and she wants to be a healer.
Oh, and like she's in the back alley and people like the guys show up and
Selena's basically like, you need to learn how to take care of yourself, and she leaves her some gold.
And like a note or
change
something.
Her life, and Selena's just thinking about like, I hope like she comes back to the continent and does this and that. And so I highlighted that and I was like, I hope she does too. Like I hope somehow like she comes back into this world and she like beats people up and then heals them. I don't know. But that's where I'm at right now. And so maybe we'll start talking about that. But I have so many books on my TBR that is overwhelming because I know when I finish Assassin's Blade, I want to keep going. But then Powerless just came yesterday, finally arrived. Dang. And so, but then I'm like, do I want to start another fantasy?
I can't go into two fantasies I don't think personally.
I can do that. So I think I'm going to hold on to that book, but I might take in betweens with like some mysteries that I have on my list because I think these are easy to get through, and it might be a little bit of a palate cleanser, and then I can kind of extend my fantasy ride a little bit. So I think I think my focus will be getting through Throne of Glass and then throwing in some mysteries here and there. So we'll have lots to talk about when we do come back, but when we do, this one's gonna be a mama.
Be a lot skinnier looking.
Hopefully, me too. Oh I don't know what my excuse is, but it's gonna be a lot of change. A lot of good change, though.
So if you haven't read Throne of Glass and you want to follow along, you have time to at least get started on the first couple books because they're not that hefty. So
no, the first two were easy to get through. Even this novella, this one's pretty easy to get through, and it's fun. So if you haven't read it yet, start reading and we'll be on the same track.
Yep.
I've been secretly hoping that you don't start Crescent City yet because I want to at least be like somewhat on track with you.
Haven't bought it, so you're good.
So take your time, girl. But I'm gonna try and go through Throne of Glass as fast as I can so that I can be ready to read because I think it's more fun when you're reading with someone as opposed to like when I said something about this barmaid and she's just making faces and I don't know if that's like for you. She's never coming back or like just wait. So I don't know. I don't know how to read those expressions and I don't like it. But
it'll be fun.
So I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you stick with us on our little hiatus with whatever this is. And comment, rate, review, subscribe, share. And